Fry is a realtor and a chartered accountant. Using a variety of strategies, she helps her clients and herself build wealth in real estate by innovating cash flow, income, and appreciation. Since 2014, she has been in the top 10% of realtors in Greater Vancouver. Her portfolio has grown to almost 150 doors since she acquired 5 apartment buildings in Chilliwack, Maple Ridge, Mission, Abbotsford, and Cloverdale over the past few years. In December of 2018, Kelly began hosting Airbnb from her basement suite in Maple Ridge in order to continue providing cash flow to herself and her clients. Since it was so successful, she has expanded to 17 Airbnbs. Using this strategy, she hopes to help other investors stay ahead of inflation by sharing some of the tricks of the trade she has learned along the way. Let's welcome Kelly Fry. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for joining us today.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
So nice to be here.
Yes.
Very well, thank you.
We're so excited. As we've been talking earlier, I know a lot of our investors want to learn your strategy. It's something that a lot of people are not familiar with. It's very interesting because they do it, and not all of them, or not very many of them, are thinking of doing it themselves. So I'm glad that you're here to educate, to inspire other people, especially with what's happening with interest rates and what's happening in the market. So Kelly and I have been working for many, many years. We've helped a lot of our clients, and I admire Kelly so much. Aside from that wonderful introduction, what I value a lot with Kelly is she really understands numbers. She understands the math of things, which is very helpful for investors, right? Because when you're investing, it's all about the numbers, as you know. So,
Totally.
so thank you, Kelly, for being with us today. And Kelly has prepared a presentation for us. But for the audience out there, at any point during Kelly's presentation, something is not clear, you're not unsure about, you want clarification, please type in your questions and we will make sure we interrupt Kelly. She's more than happy to stop, to pause, and give your questions the honor and the grace that it deserves. So there you go. So Kelly is going to do that for us today. Let's go with Kelly's presentation.
All right. Well, Bernadette, I wanted to give people some local current market real estate strategies because there's a lot of uncertainty out of there. People are worried about interest rates, and we do have expensive pricing in Vancouver. And I can't tell you how many times people talk to me about wanting to invest in other provinces. And I always say, no, you don't understand. I've done that. The best market we have is here. And there are some strategies that you can do to take advantage of the strong appreciating market that we have that's very liquid and that also has a very low vacancy rate. So with that, I have some goals for today, and I think you guys are pushing the slides forward. So first, I want to give you a market update of what is happening in what I call the cash flow zones. So these are areas where prices are lower, but rents are still high. Your Mission, your Abbotsford, your Chilliwack regions, which are still commutable to Vancouver. I want to offer real estate investors some tips to take advantage in the current times and, get ahead of the curve. And I also want to show them how to capitalize on Airbnb as a strategy. It's a strategy that's very close to my heart. It has been for the last 3 years. I also want to talk about some current pre-sale opportunities that we're seeing as developers are trying to innovate in the current market, which makes it advantageous for investors. So let's start with Mission. Now I'm going to have to put my glasses on because the screen's fairly small here. In the detached sector, we're up just shy of 10% year over year, but it is, declining very rapidly. But we're looking at $1,087,000 as your average detached price. And I want you to take note of the fact that the listing inventory is up 61%. So as we see more inventory coming on the market, sellers are becoming negotiable. You don't have to worry about subject free offers anymore. And the days on market is 23, so it's creeping up. It probably was closer to 8 or 10 a few months ago. In the townhouse sector, we're still up 6% year over year. Average price is $682, but townhouses hard to come by in Mission, so the stats are a little bit skewed when it comes to townhouses and condos in Mission. The developers are sort of racing to get some product in those markets. Mission typically has been a detached market. So currently you're seeing the listing inventory is starting to climb. It's up 38% on townhouses. And in condos, prices are just up about 8.5%. The days on market is about 28 days. So that's quite a bit longer. It's getting up there. And the inventory is up 117%. So quite an increase, quite a lot more selection and negotiation for investors. Now we'll jump over to Abbotsford. The detached market in Abbotsford, it says that it's 1.34. We are seeing the detached come down in prices in that market. So it'll be interesting to see the stats when July comes out. Only 18 days for sales still on the detached sector, and the inventory is up 34% on homes. In terms of townhouses, it's quite a whopping increase still year over year at 21%. And days on market, still 22, not too far off of the detached. And then inventory is up 43%. So you're going to notice that every category in every region, the listing inventory is climbing. In terms of condos, up 30% year over year. And as houses become more unaffordable, people are going to shift more and more into condos. Listing inventory is not too bad in terms of increases, only 22% increase on that one. Then we'll head over to Chilliwack in terms of see the stats on that one. The detached home price is about $991,000. We're starting to see available detached even in the 800 range now because of the price decreases.
Ooh,
but it's still
really? Wow.
Yeah, we're starting to see. And even in Mission, I've seen some fixer uppers under 800. The inventory is up 68% in Chilliwack, and you'll notice that the days on market has creeped over 30 days. It's at 36. Townhouses, although they're up 13%, when you look at what's available, the inventory is up 169%. So lots of options on townhouses for buyers, and definitely the motivated sellers are going to keep dropping their prices. In terms of condos, they're still up in price 20%, but you can see the average price is $373,000, and our inventory is up close to 69% in terms of available condos in the market. So that gives you sort of a bird's eye view of those areas up to June 30th. Now, in terms of tips for real estate investors,
before we go here, I have a question. What is the psychology? Sure. I'm very curious, the psychology behind there's more listings, because if you remember, I'm sure you remember last year, the challenge was inventory. And then,
I know.
And then all of a sudden it's this high. Like, what happened to the psychology of the sellers? Why are we getting more, like, huge?
Well, you know how Warren Buffett always says, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. You know, these increases in interest rate hikes has created fear in the consumer. And so people are rushing. They're saying, I should have sold. I missed the peak. I've got to try and get it now. And it's kind of all happening at the same time. And then people that have experienced increases in their mortgage payments are starting to panic. You know, sometimes it's investors, if they've bought without proper positive cash flow, now they're quite negative cash flow. So, you know, they want to get out from under those negative payments. And then people that are sort of just getting by and their payments have gone up are now starting to sell out.
Okay.
So it's all in there. It's all in the mind, Bernadette. It's not even, nothing really has changed that much. It's just fear as driving decisions.
False evidence.
So cash, false evidence appearing real. Cash is king right now. If you've got cash, you know, you can really get yourself a good deal. Flips are still good. I mean, if you buy at the right price, they're always good. And of course, product that is really well done for the consumer is more desirable than unrenovated products. Pre-sale condos. We're seeing all kinds of creative initiatives from the developers right now. They're even slashing prices, which I haven't seen for years. There's equity on the buy because in some cases the prices are lower than what the current resale market is. So there's equity there. They're dropping their assignment fees from like 3% down to $1,000. And their deposits, which were up at 15%, have gone down to 10%. But I got a crazy phone call last night. I can't even believe. They are going to take $1 deposits on a project I have. If a person has other property that has the equity equivalent to a 10% deposit, so let's say $450,000 buy, $45,000 deposit would normally be what you put up. If you have a property with that much equity, they will secure a collateral mortgage and you will tie that property up for 2 years with no cash in, just the fee for the lawyer to register that mortgage. Now, I have never seen this in all the years as a realtor, so investors are super excited about this, and I'm waiting to see. They were doing the paperwork today, how many they're going to let me have for my investors. So that's a no money down deal right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Airbnb is a key topic for today. Airbnb itself is an online platform that enables people, the consumer, to book a furnished condo or an apartment or a house or a suite, to do so daily, weekly, or even monthly. And it's kind of an alternative to offering long-term rentals from your perspective as a landlord. Now, in these inflationary times, this is so critical for keeping ahead of the rising costs because the insurance is going up, the property taxes are going up, mortgage payments are going up. It gives you the opportunity because you can keep changing your rates on Airbnb versus as a landlord with a fixed rental amount with government rent controls. So why Airbnb? Why now? Airbnb has beat the growth estimates with 70% revenue growth as travel rebounds post-COVID. Unbelievable how active the Airbnb market is right now. And of course, it being summer, it's peak season. So some key points, Airbnb is expecting a strong summer as travel continues to rebound post-corona. And I was running quite a few units through COVID. And of course, most of my clientele was BC, and then ultimately some Alberta, and then a bit of Ontario. And then we started to see the whole country, the US, and now we're seeing lots of international travelers. Airbnb itself beat Wall Street's estimates and gave a strong guidance for the second quarter. And they reported 102 million nights and experiences booked in the first quarter, surpassing the pre-pandemic levels and beating all expectations. So you can see that the consumer demand for the product is there.
Great.
Now, for you as an investor, and for me, why am I using this strategy? I like to say it turbocharges cash flow in our market, which we need in a more expensive market. I took all of my properties that I'm currently Airbnb-ing and I analyzed, okay, would my regular rental rate be and what am I getting on Airbnb? And I found that the range of the premium that I'm getting is 41 to 94% over what regular market rent is.
Holy cow, that's huge. Holy moly, man.
You know, it's definitely something that you want to take a look at as an investor, and it's a definite hedge against rising costs, and it meets a market demand that's just insatiable. I mean, a lot of times people stay in my Airbnbs for different reasons, but they get great jobs here and they arrive and they think they can just rent a property, and you know, our vacancy is close to 0%. So Airbnb is where they land when they arrive here until they can actually get a property.
Wow.
Now, I think we have a question here.
Yes. Good eye there. Yes. We have a question from Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. You know Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa.
Isn't it hard to get home insurance for Airbnb?
No, not really. I mean, over the years, I've built quite a roster of partners or vendors that I use, and I have a very good investment insurance broker that actually sets it up for my clients and for myself. You know, it's going to cost you a little bit more, but it's not too bad. Like, I think I'm paying $100 a month for one of my condos and they know it's Airbnb.
Yeah, there you go. And it's 41 to 94%.
And don't forget, you also have the coverage from Airbnb too, so it's kind of double coverage.
Oh, okay. What do you mean you have the coverage for Airbnb? There's insurance coverage from there?
Yeah, Airbnb has insurance. You know, if something goes wrong, there's a fallback there. In terms of they have insurance if you know there's significant damage or something like that happens. Oh. But it's always best to have your own insurance too. You can pursue both, right?
Right. When you say insatiable, what does that mean to the average consumer?
Well, I mean, every time I open another one, I think, oh, I hope it fills up, and within the hour the bookings start. Like, I don't think I don't even know how many you would need to open to meet the market demand. Like, it's
Wow.
and people are continually, especially right now, the on my portfolio, there's a 44-day advance time on booking. So people are booking 44 days in advance. But there's always people that book right up till the night, right, of the actual
Yeah.
booking. So unfortunately, people contact me with all different types of situations, especially realtors. Oh, I have a client right now. They're between houses. They need a property for 2 months. Well, unfortunately, right now, I'm pretty well booked straight till September. Like, I can't just come up with a full 2 month window right now unless I opened a new one, right? Because there's always staggered bookings that pop up continually.
Right. Well, Vanessa said hi to you and me, and that's good to know.
Yep.
Yes. Isn't it exciting, Vanessa?
Yeah.
Let's go to
All
the
right.
next slide.
On to the
Yeah.
next slide. Okay, so I know you had asked for me to talk about my current portfolio. So I have 150 doors in my portfolio of properties, and 11% of those are Airbnb. So I have about 17 Airbnbs running. I have Coquitlam, Maple Ridge, Mission, Abbotsford, Chilliwack, Langley, and Surrey at this moment. I mean, I could run them probably in every area, but it's quite an undertaking, and of course, you need the capital to have the properties. But it's a combination. I've got apartments, of condos, townhouses, a detached house, and a basement suite. So I've tried all sort of sectors with this strategy. And one of the reasons I do it is just so that I have the market knowledge for my clients to help people be able to replicate this strategy. So I thought I'd throw some pictures in. This is a house that I used to live in. I lived in there until 2014. I then converted it to a rental until 2021 is when I thought, you know what, I really should try this Airbnb concept on a house. And so I've actually spent more money in the last year making it better for Airbnb than I ever did as a rental. I've put in air conditioning because, of course, we had that crazy summer last summer, and this was a big issue for people. And then I put in all new windows recently, and then keep upgrading it. But I do use a professional stager and designer and a photographer to make it look the best that I can. And this is key for families. And last year, especially, people had already sold their homes, but they couldn't get into the homes they bought. So they wanted a home to stay in while they were waiting for their new possession. And if you've got children or dogs or families getting together, a house is an ideal Airbnb. So that's in Maple Ridge. No, this is there are some pictures here of a condo that I have in Langley. This one performs extremely well, probably booked 28 to 29 days on average. I learned a lesson in the last few years. I had sold a lot of condos in Maple Ridge in a building, a brand new building, and I learned that I needed to control the strata council with investors because otherwise I faced a shutdown in the Maple Ridge condo because there was some homeowner occupiers that wanted restrictions in place, and then they basically found out I was running one, and that one was booked 355 days a year. So I had to succumb to the pressure ultimately and move that furniture, and I moved it into another unit in another building. But now when this building completed, we had sold so many units to investors that we all elected ourselves on the strata council, and there are 3 of us that actually run Airbnbs in the building, so we block any efforts to restrict Airbnb in that building. So ideally you need an investor friendly building. So we'll go on to this one. Now this is a townhouse in Aldergrove. It was renovated by 4 women, 4 units, and they were all empty, and I was showing them to clients, telling them how great of an Airbnb it would be or a rental, and people just didn't take the action, and 3 out of 4 of them sold, and then I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to buy one myself because I didn't want it to sell. So bought one in this complex, and I'm very careful with the neighbors. The 3 neighbors are all owner occupiers. I do go out of my way to pay whatever needs to be paid or to give them knowledge, and so that they don't get upset. And so they're fine with the Airbnb. If there's any issues, they notify me and I handle it right away. But it's nice to have a small strata like that that's self-managed, where you can, operate an Airbnb without problems. And this one was purchased with the sole intention of Airbnb-ing it, and it was $570,000. I purchased it back in October. Now we'll move to Maple Ridge. Now this is a unit, when I had to close the condo in Maple Ridge I told you about, I moved the furniture into this building because I am a part owner in this apartment building, and we had redone all the units. And so I had it again, the stager come in and move all the furniture, and then started running it immediately after I shut down the condo that the strata came after me for, because the market demand in Maple Ridge is very high. And the reason for it is because we have only 2 hotels in Maple Ridge, and one of them burned down and the other one is next to a trailer, will not stay in those hotels. So big demand for a nice product like this. So I thought I would show you the comparisons of the prices between the different categories. So on 3 bedrooms, I've got 3 of them. I've got my basement suite of my house in Coquitlam. The market rent would normally be about $2,500, and I am collecting currently about $4,200 in rent.
Holy cow.
And in fact, the world is so small that Bernadette's cousin actually booked and stayed in the suite when he was in town from Nova Scotia.
So interesting.
And the only reason I know is because his last name is Laxamana, and I thought, how many could there be? So it turned out it's a small world. So that is presenting a 68% premium from what I would get from a regular tenant. Now on the townhouse, I figure it would rent for about $2,500, and I'm getting about close to $3,700, which is a 48% premium, or an extra $1,200. And then Maple Ridge, that house would get about $3,500, and I collect about $5,300 for a premium of 54%. Now, when I'm calculating these numbers, what you do on Airbnb is you set a base rate that is the minimum you don't want to go below. Yes. But I also select what's called a smart pricing. So Airbnb has algorithms that detects the busier days, so the Saturday nights, the long weekends, where people are looking, and they'll mark the price up automatically higher. So my actual intake is higher than these numbers, but I'm giving you based upon the base rate of what I'm getting.
Wow. It's truly conservative numbers.
Yeah, conservative. And then I'm not including cleaning costs, because the cleaning fees are separate from the rental and the guests pay for that. So it's a wash. The only factor you have to comes off of this premium is that you're covering utilities, internet and cable, some supplies, and if it's a house, landscaping like the lawn mowing. But it gives you a general idea of the premium. So we'll move from 3 bedrooms to 2 bedrooms. And you can see that the first one is an Abbotsford apartment. It would normally rent for $1,550. I'm getting $2,700, so that's a 74% difference. Now, because there's an airport in Abbotsford, I get a lot of travelers coming in and out through that airport. Langley, the condo that I showed you in the pictures just before, would rent for about $2,000. And I'm getting actually more than this now because I just raised the rate. But when I did this presentation last week, I was getting a 75% premium, $1,500 more.
Wow.
Cloverdale is kind of the rock star of the picture. I would normally get $1,800. I'm getting $3,500, so that one's a 94% premium.
Crazy.
Yeah, Cloverdale is really popular. And then we'll go on to the 1 bedrooms. So these are the market rents. Chilliwack, I would get probably $1,150. Instead, I get over $2,000, 78% premium. Maple Ridge would get $1,400. I'm getting $2,400, 74% premium. Mission, I've got quite a few over there. $1,350. I'm getting over $2,000, 54% premium.
Even if it's 1 bedroom, it's still great.
Right now, I have 2 nurses at the Mission Hospital that are travel nurses working, and one of them staying for 3 months and one's 6 weeks. And then I've got a bunch of bodybuilders that are all competing in the same competition for the next few days.
Wow. That's crazy, insane. That's fantastic. Cool.
So we'll move on. So I thought I'd break up the daily rates for you.
Nice.
On the one bedrooms, because numbers are my thing.
Yes.
Chilliwack is
Love it. Love it,
$73.
Kelly.
$73 a day right now in Chilliwack, but I noticed that the smart pricing is moving into the 80s in September and forward. So I don't know if it's because there's so many more travelers coming that it's pushing the rates up. Maple Ridge is running at 87 a day, Mission at 77. On the 2-bedroom side, Abbotsford is 100. Langley, I've just boosted it to 130 minimum. Cloverdale 125. And on the 3-bedroom, my basement suite is 155 or higher. Aldergrove is 142, and the Maple Ridge house is 200. And the Maple Ridge house, I've had a few insurance claims too. The insurance company contacted me directly through Airbnb, actually.
Wow. That's awesome. That's really awesome. Do these rates change winter, like depending on the season?
Yes, they should go down. But what's happened is these are the rates I'm using now. And you've got to understand that I've been gradually increasing through COVID the whole time, right? So I don't know what's going to happen this winter because there's so much demand now that I may not have to drop them.
Wow. And so based on what you're saying, even fall and winter, you still have Airbnb people looking for a place. It's not just a summer thing, right?
No, because it's not tourist based. My clientele is not tourist based. Yes, they're coming in for weddings, graduations, hockey tournaments, swim meets. They're not coming in straight tourism. It's family related activities mostly, or job related, or insurance claim, or renovations of their homes, all different things.
Beautiful. And Vanessa has additional question. Kelly, do you have a property manager for your Airbnbs?
Well, because I have a big real estate team, I have 2 assistants that assist with the management of the Airbnb. So I do a little bit of the overview, and I'm sort of the one who gets the calls sometimes. But they handle all the reviews, all the communications with the cleaners, and a lot of the issues, so that I don't have to. And then I've got sort of a team. I've got 2 different handymen that are on call whenever there's a problem. And then one sort of genuine tech person that is on call if we need it for internet or cable. But I sort of developed these relationships over time where they're just kind of available on an as-need basis.
Gorgeous. Okay. Beautiful.
But I do have a good Airbnb manager who handles Vancouver and the North Shore. He just hasn't expanded out further out yet. So I don't have a specific person for further out. But when you have one Airbnb, honestly, or 2 or 3, it's so easy to manage because we set everything up with lock boxes, self check-in. So it's just when you start to get volume that it can be a bit overwhelming.
Right. So it's one at a time, and then you build up your skill.
Yeah. Okay, so I thought I would show you guys actual numbers so you can see my occupancy rates. January to July is basically 2022, and then August to December is 2021. And you can see that the average is coming at 26, but that's across the whole portfolio. There are certain properties that are higher.
Yeah. Wow, Kelly. I just love your number sense. It's fantastic.
And December, although it's showing an average of 23 days, December is actually very popular because a lot of people are coming for Christmas. Sometimes the average might be skewed if there's a plumbing leak in a property and we have to close it down for a few days or other reasons, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's fantastic. This is awesome. Wow. I want to convert my apartment. I have one to Airbnb.
Yeah. You'll never go back.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Next slide. Okay. There you go. So, oh my gosh, you got everything covered. Okay.
Yes, I'm going to tell you how I execute an Airbnb and how you can mimic it or do some parts of it yourself. First, you've got to find a property or you convert one that you already have. Okay. You secondly want to assess why is it all ones? It should be numbered. Assess the risk of neighbors complaining or reporting you. Read the strata bylaws. Just make sure that you know what you're getting into and the property you're getting into. Estimate the daily rates. You can go on Airbnb's website and see what the competitors are charging, and you can sort of make an estimate of the occupancy you're expecting to calculate your numbers. Now, I have a stager designer that I use, and she does all the shopping, and she puts the whole package together and the setup and everything. But you can do that yourself if you have that skill and the time to do that. The designer, in my case, arranges with the handyman to hang all the paintings, mirrors, TV, the TV bracket, all at one time. And then he also meets with Shaw to install the internet and cable as soon as possible, because I've learned that lesson. You don't launch without Wi-Fi, because that's really a bad situation. You need that set up first. He also makes copies of all the keys and sets up a lockbox. Then the cleaner goes in, and by the way, that's very important. The cleaner is very important. I have a crew of different cleaners, because cleaners typically don't travel far out of their region, because it's not worth their time. So you have to have backup cleaners and various cleaners. So the cleaner does a final clean, and then the photographer goes in and takes the pictures. And then my assistants do the post of the ad on Airbnb once they've got the pictures. And the bookings literally begin like a few hours after they go live. But the setup process, I am not overly tech kind of person. I have a team of people that are, but it's very easy to post on Airbnb. It'll take you possibly 10 minutes. It's not very long of a process. It's very dummied down for people like me. And the other thing I want to mention is that in Vancouver has a licensing procedure. And so in order to even post on Airbnb, you have to have a license number. But as soon as you get out of Vancouver, that isn't a requirement. So you can post with, you don't need a license number. That's not to say that the region doesn't have a licensing requirement. And that brings me to the point that licensing is still a nightmare in most regions, and most properties are supposed to be owner occupied with an Airbnb component. But I kind of liken it to being like Uber, when we were fighting to get Uber into Vancouver and the taxis were trying to stop it. The market wants it. The government hasn't adapted to it. And so far, I have successfully managed to stay under the radar, with the exception of that one where the Strata Council sort of pursued me. But if you can just manage complaints, like the cities themselves, they know these exist, because you pull up Airbnb in any region, you can see 300 of them up. But they don't pursue unless there's a complaint driven.
Correct.
So. Now, my experience so far, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the occupancy can average up to 28 days, depending on the property. The cash flow is so good, the demand is insatiable. But the bad is there's going to be guests who leave a mess. There are going to be guests that don't follow the rules. You're not going to keep everybody happy. They're going to leave you some bad reviews. Cleaners are going to leave you at times, and you can be contacted quite often at any given time of day or night. And there's the ugly, which is situations can escalate quickly, when keys are missing, or, there's a party going on. Strata councils might impose restrictions, and they might fine you. So you just have to be aware of these risks, but we are entrepreneurs and we're up for the challenge.
Absolutely.
So I mentioned the podium in Maple Ridge. This is a pre-sale project that is very well priced. It's a 125 unit development that is completing in June 2024. They had reduced the deposit structure to 10%, but this is the one where they called me and said they are going to allow for collateral mortgage on another property. You only have to put $1 down. They are launching it to the public next weekend, but I am trying to get as many for my clients and investors as possible before they do that, because I am sort of their top tier VIP for their pre-sale. And they have dropped the assignment fee to $1,000, which means that if you decide to bring in a joint venture partner or a family member along the way to complete on the purchase, it's only going to be $1,000, not 3%. And then you have the option of either selling before closing as an assignment sale, or you complete on the property. And you are always obliged to complete if the assignment sale doesn't go through, just so that you're aware. But beautiful building, reputable developer that I've worked with for about 6 years. So just to give you an idea of the pricing, the cheapest one bedroom is 429. And as I'm talking to you, I just got a message from the listing agent. He is not going to cut me off because normally he only gives me 10 or 15 units of things. He is going to allow me to secure as many as I can for clients. 1-bedroom and dens are 469.9 is the range and higher, and 2 beds 589. Now, what's interesting about these prices is that they are below what the current used residential market is selling at in Maple Ridge. So they're
I was going to
priced very
say,
sharp.
like 2 bedrooms in Maple Ridge is not that price, right?
No, it's not. And so, they've got 60, I think they're at 65 sales out of 125. So now they're just looking to creatively get more sales to hit their, sellout price point. Now we'll move on to another one. Okay, here's just a map showing you. It's just down 224th facing the water near the West Coast Express in Maple Ridge and the Fraser River.
Cool.
By Lougheed Highway, which is an area of gentrification with lots of development happening. And then this is another one. We do a lot in Langley as well. This is called the Sigmund, 132 homes, also 2024. This one is 10% down with only a $1,000 assignment fee. And they did a price rollback in the last few weeks where they drastically lowered the prices from the original launch of the project. So they did that to get the sales targets they needed. And then as soon as they did that, they had quite a spike in sales, and we still do have available units in that one as well. Willoughby is a very high growth area and I think like Langley itself is 12.1% population growth, the highest in, I think, BC. Wow. These prices are a little higher, 469 on ones, 544 on 1-bed and dens, 599 on twos, and of course, over 800 on the threes. That Sigmund is on 72nd, just a little bit east of 200 Street.
Okay. Those are pretty good deals.
Yeah, so like I say, there's always great deals locally as long as, these creative ideas and opportunities.
Wow. Well, thank you, Kelly. That was such a great presentation. So we can turn off Telly. There you go. Okay. I learned a lot from that one. I just have a question. From the beginning, you said the best market is still here. You've tried to invest elsewhere. I think it's important for you to share with the audience why you still think this is the best area to invest instead of going out.
Well, you see, there was a phase where, I bought a lot in Alberta because oil prices were supposed to go high and cash flow was supposed to be great. And I've been in that market since 2007. I have quite a lot of properties, and there's basically been virtually no appreciation until recently. And I sort of cringe every time people says, oh, I'm going to go to Edmonton or I'm going to go to Calgary. And I think, oh, you're much better suited here. Like, even go to Hope here or Agassiz, and you're going to do better than you're going to do in Alberta. And even Cameron on my team, I watched him get into an apartment building in Edmonton, and he just had a cash call of $60,000 last month. The crime in the building, the break-ins, they've had to put new security doors. Like, there's a lot going on in Edmonton right now. And even though oil prices are up, I still don't even think it's worth selling anything that I've owned for 15 years there. So It's been a big disappointment. I owned a lot in Manitoba. I had like 23 properties at one time, and it was very difficult. The tenant base there is very rough. The police were busting in doors of mine. The property manager was stealing my rent. Like, I think here it's like everybody knows that real estate holds here. We have our small dips through, usually major events like COVID or interest rates or things, but it always bounces back here, and you can always sell here. It's always liquid, and there's always renters, and you're going to build your net worth here. There's sort of the dream of cash flow in other provinces, but the reality is it's not really that great because your net worth grows here, and you can create that extra cash flow through Airbnb. So why wouldn't you stay here? If you needed to drive by your property, you can, and you know that at any time you can cash out.
Yeah, I hear you. I have some people who go there, like what you said, that area because it's cheaper and there's cash flow. I said, but after 5 years, you're still better off in this area. And I even have people investing in like New Brunswick or something because it's cheap, right? Like 200,000, whatever. And in my head, I'm like, if that grows by 5 to 10%, 200 at 5 to 10% is way smaller than
Yeah,
500, 600 at like 15 to 20% because the appreciation is
absolutely.
higher here, right? So again, it's all
Absolutely.
about the numbers. So when I hear them going out there because of cash flow and it's cheaper, I'm like, yeah, but you also get this on the flip side. So it's not just, don't decide just make it all about the cash flow. Sometimes you have to think of the other factors when you're purchasing. And with Airbnb, like what you said, it sounds like you can take care of the cash flow anyway,
That's right. Yeah.
right? Okay, so if you guys have any more questions for Kelly, type it in. But I think it's a good idea for me to talk about interest rates before we welcome
Yes.
Kelly back. I'm going to be talking about what's happening with interest rates. I'm sure a lot of the investors are freaking out or asking questions, and I am here to share with you. Sometimes when you're afraid, it's because you don't have enough information. That's one of the things. And also you're looking at the wrong lens. So I'm going to help you look at a different lens for my presentation right now. So I'll see you in a bit, Kelly, and let's play my presentation. Okay. So we're going to be talking about what's happened with interest rates. So here's the interest rate update. The Bank of Canada increased rates. This is for the variable rate mortgage holders. Bank of Canada increased rates by 1%. Prime is now 4.7% from 3.7%. This is the fourth time the Bank of Canada increased the rate. So they increased it by 0.25 in March and zero point 0.5 in April and June. The question is, why are they doing this? What does this mean to you? And what's the forecast? So, why they're doing this is because inflation in Canada is higher and more persistent than the bank expected. If you watch what they said in the past, they said, oh, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine. But all of a sudden, inflation surged. And they said that it will likely remain around 8% in the next few months. So this is what the Bank of Canada typically does. They cut the lending rate when it wants to stimulate the economy. Remember during COVID, when things were getting so scary, the economy shutting down, nobody was buying anything, crazy, crazy, businesses were closing, and they want to jumpstart the economy. They want to keep it going, so they drop the rates. On the flip side is they increase the rates when inflation becomes higher than their target rate. They want inflation to be between 2 to 3%. So the moment it surges above that, they have to do something about it in order to bring it down. So because they feel that if they increase the rates, people will stop spending money and prices will not keep going up. Just to give you a visual, this is what inflation looks like right now on the right hand there, how high it is compared to what has been what has been happening historically before. And regardless of that, like even without that, you all here feel that, right? Gas prices come on over $2. When you do your groceries, like, oh my gosh, if you look at your bill, it's like way more expensive. So you could feel that difference right now. Why are we feeling this inflation right now? Global factors, including the war in Ukraine and supply disruptions, are the biggest drivers. But domestic price pressures from excess demand are becoming more prominent. So this is the wording from Bank of Canada. So I'm going to translate it to layman's terms. So what's happening obviously with the war in Ukraine, it's impacting the supply of gas, and that's impacting gas prices around the world. And with that is also we use gas for a lot of things, right? So it's impacting a lot of things. So with regards to also supply problems, Benjamin Tal said 65% of demand right now, pent up demand right now, is COVID related. What happened during COVID? Remember what I said? Everything shut down, right? So people are not buying, shopping, people are not eating out. It's like none of that stuff. People are not traveling, right? So everything went down there. Demand was very, very low, right? Almost like nothing. And then what happened is about the late part of 2021, people started buying like massive, like, oh gosh, it's fine now. The world is not going crazy. Sky's not falling. We're fine. And so there's this surge of demand that has happened, like boom, in the system. What happened to the suppliers? They couldn't keep up because the businesses shut down operations, and then this demand happened. They couldn't keep up. That's why Benjamin Tal said all the demand's happening right now. It's pent up demand is 65% COVID related. So now that you know, that's why this is happening. It's all pent up demand. It didn't help us. Also, China also locked down, right? So that also impacted supply. Demand goes up, supply is down. What happens to prices? Crazy, crazy, crazy. So, having said all that, what is the Bank of Canada seeing or projecting moving forward? The July outlook for Canada, according to them, has inflation starting to come back down later this year, easing to about 3% by the end of next year, and returning to the 2% target by the end of 2024. Okay? So, here are these things that they're projecting. As a result, the Bank of Canada now expects the Canadian economy to grow by 3.5% in 2022. There was a report that actually last month, I think the economy went up by only 0.2% GDP, and then 1.75% in 2023 and 2.5% in 2024. What I want you guys to pay attention is to what I said earlier. The Bank of Canada increases the rates when the economy is not so good. You don't know what to pray for. When the economy decreases the rates when the economy is not doing great, increases the rates when the economy is hot, 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 and the target rate is between 2 to 3%. So based on the forecast that we're seeing here, it's safe to predict that interest rates will also start going down when these projected rates in terms of inflation and in terms of GDP growth happens. So it's saying like next year and by the end of 2024. In fact, we're going to see. It's saying here that the economy is going to be the inflation is starting to go down by the latter part of this year, right? What does this mean to you? If you're holding a fixed rate mortgage and your mortgage is maturing within the next 3 to 12 months, it is important for you to reach out to us now so we can plan for your immediate future. A rate hold would be advised, or an early renewal may be the best strategy for you, depending on your goal and your purpose. If you're holding a variable rate mortgage in terms of monthly cost, this means that the 1% increase is an increase in your payment of $47 for every $100,000 mortgage. And if your mortgage is $500,000, then your monthly payment will go up by $235. Kelly was saying that the additional income from Airbnb ranges from $1,500 to $2,000, $3,000. So sounds like there's an answer here for you if you're an investor. If you're thinking of buying a property, again, talk to us so we can hold the rate for you before rates go up if you are intending to want the fixed rate mortgage. Now, I want to put things in proper perspective because a lot of you, like Kelly has mentioned, remember I asked, why is it that a lot of sellers are selling? It's because there's a panic out there. A lot of people are thinking prices will continue to drop. It reminds me of 2008. When we had that problem where, remember the economy, we had the global crisis in the US when they had the market crash. So there was that scare here. And in 2008, if you look at the chart in 2008, there was a dip in pricing at the time. However, it also recovered. And every time it recovers, the next recovery is higher than the last peak. So in 2008, that was the peak, and then it went up again in 2010, and then it happened in many, many times. 2012, there's a peak there, and the next peak is 2014. But those are 2 year periods. When it comes to investing, whether you're buying your first home, you're buying your second, third, fourth property, please, 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 it's not a speculatory environment that you should be jumping in. Real estate investing is not about timing the market. Nobody can predict when the next surge is. It's about timing the market. Nothing is done forever. And at any point in this chart, if you pick 1996 and then you pick 5 years hence, it's typically like higher every single time. Every 5 years, it's higher. It's high. Even in 2008, 5 years hence, it's higher. After that, higher. So at any point in time, if you're going to purchase and you're going to hold that baby 5 years or longer, even if it's longer, 10 to 12 years on a single detached, you will double, which is historically what's been happening. So it's very, very important that when you are choosing to invest, it's a long-term strategy. Oh my gosh, Bernadette, rates are going up. I'm going to tell you a story about an investor who's facing the same thing that you are facing, and they started like 2005. So let's say right similar to now, for in 2005 4.75 was the rate, and look how crazy the rate happened for this person. After 2005, it went up, prime went up, crazy. And then it started going down again when inflation started to get better. And by the time this person renewed the mortgage from 4.75 to as high as 6, he was able to face a 3% rate. The whole time he stayed variable. And then after his mortgage matured, you would think that he learned his lesson and would do a fixed. And no, he didn't. He stayed variable. And look at in 5 years, that's what happened to his rate. And then in March 2020, when his mortgage went up for maturity, he still stayed variable. So prime rate at the time was 245, and now we're facing that. So this is what's happened to this person during the time that you are facing right now. At any point in time, if you will look at variable rates, it goes up, and then again, when inflation and things get better, it goes down. Kelly mentioned this earlier. Warren Buffett said, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. Grant Cardone also said, if you allow the economy to determine your choice, you will never be in control of your own economy. That's why we are having Kelly Fry here to share with you how you can create your own personal economy by being innovative, by being entrepreneurial. So these are examples of businesses that started during a recession. You know these names. You would think that they're just one of the smartest people in the world. Why would they start investing in something big or start a company, do something like that during a recession? Because they see an opportunity, they know their goal, they know their why, they use that instead of what's happening in the economy to dictate their action. 50% of companies in Fortune 500 started during a recession, and look at where they are right now. They did not allow that to derail what they are envisioning for their future. I love W. Clement Stone. He was once described as an inverse paranoid. Instead of believing the world, or in this case, the economy, was plotting to do him harm, he chose to believe the world was plotting to do him good. Instead of seeing every difficult or challenging event as a negative, he saw it for what it could be, something that was meant to enrich him, empower him, or advance his causes. So what are the things that you should be focusing on to enrich you, to empower you, or advance your causes? Think 2008, think COVID. During that time, the world was in chaos. It's so scary, and a lot of people are afraid, right? But since that time, it was a blip. It was a short pause in time, and after that, things started to surge again. And the people who took advantage of that time are the ones that are laughing now. And then also when it comes to investing, think long term horizon. What's happening now is a comma, it's not a period of your life. So if you push through this, I think you're going to be way ahead than if you pull back. Um, Things, the houses are becoming more affordable. Kelly showed you that things are becoming not as crazy, so there's opportunities there. And then with there's more listings coming in, think that there's a balanced market, which is perfect. There's more properties that you could buy. You can now offer with subjects. You can say goodbye to crazy offers and hundreds of competition. And then finally, remember, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Be unstoppable, do whatever it takes, and most importantly, rise up instead of choosing to crumble. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope that has helped a lot of you here today based on that presentation. Can we bring Kelly back? There you go. Hi, Kelly. So,
Hello.
so there you go. I hope that help a lot of you understand what's going on and help you guys just change your focus on the opportunity. There's always opportunity, right, Kelly? Always.
Always, always, always opportunity.
Yes. So please focus on that. If you have any questions about Airbnb, if you have properties that you want to do that, or if you want to start buying property, and then help get Kelly to help you, how to set that up once you bought it. We have Kelly's contact information here as well. And also we have our real estate investing webinar that's happening on July 28th. To those of you who wish to attend that, we're sharing the link here. So we have that. Yes, it's Tagalog po. Again, for our the people who are watching, we're going to share with you what's happening in the market. We're going to share with you how successful investors are muddling through here, because we still have investors that are buying, Kelly. We have a bunch of people that couldn't buy last year. They couldn't buy even though they were ready to buy, but because they were like 100,000 above asking, no subjects, they just couldn't compete. But now they could, so we get contracts after contracts. So to all of you who think there's no opportunity, there is, and we just added a few more opportunities here. So hopefully you guys can join us. And if you have any more questions, we have Kelly here. From Kelly's presentation, I love the rental premium that's sticking in my head. I'm now thinking of ways in order to execute that. Oh, before I forget, Kelly. So I think a lot of people would want to know this. I have properties that have a fixed tenancy that I committed to. What are the strategies that you could recommend so that people could start doing this, and ways that they can get out of that?
Well, when you want tenants to leave, I always found the most effective way is to just pay them to leave, make them a cash offer, especially if you know what your premium is going to be versus keeping them. If they're on a fixed term, you have to ride it out till the end of the term unless they take a cash offer, in which case you're going to sign a mutual end of tenancy with them. But if they're on month to month, and if you have another family member that could be moving into the property, like a child or siblings or what have you, you can also use the rules with residential tenancy to try and give them notice for a family member to occupy. So you have to be creative. Unfortunately, the rules are favoring the tenants, but there are always ways. And as I said, money is always a good motivator.
Yes, and also think of return on investment, right? Small pain for huge gains. Think long term. Whenever you are coming up with a strategy like this, think long term. Don't think of, oh my gosh, I have to pay this person. Yes, because you have a long term vision. What's your return on that investment? Always think a long term vision of what you are striving for. Because remember, you can only increase the rent by 1.5% if you stick with that person. But if you go Airbnb, you have control.
Yes. You have
and
your own economy,
yes,
just like
you
Grant
have your
Cardone
own,
said.
you have your own economy. And also there's something that you need to know about how lenders look at it. So if this is a strategy that you want to pursue, please make sure you talk to us so we can tell you how to uh, make it compliant. That's the word. So that you could do this and then you could multiply using this strategy. I love the fact that the market demand is insatiable. I love that word. And that you are looking at, 30, 44 days demand. And that's fantastic. And also that the fact that even in winter, even in the fall, you guys don't think that this is just a summer opportunity. It sounds like this is a Kelly again. She's brilliant. She showed you like all the possible questions, concerns that you have. She gave you proof. She didn't use words. She didn't, she gave you proof that, 24, 25, 28 days out of the year it's occupied, out of the month it's occupied, and gave you a chart throughout the year. So this is very positive. There's an opportunity. It's a great strategy. So hopefully this has helped you, especially those who are very concerned about rising rates. You want to hold on. This is a solid strategy for you. Thank you, Kelly, for your time today. And before we end, if there's anything that you would like to share or tell our viewers right now is the perfect time to share that.
Well, I mean, we do email blasts for opportunities that we have. So if anyone is interested in finding out about any of our deals, just contact me to be added to our email list, and then you'll know about these great opportunities like this podium with the $1 deposit.
Oh yeah, that's also new. That was unheard of before.
I know. You live long enough, you see everything, right?
I know, right? I've been in the industry 20 years. You think you know everything? No, you don't. There's always new things we are seeing and experiencing. And again, think opportunity, opportunity. Put on your entrepreneurial hat and take advantage of what's happening right now. Kelly, we honor you. We appreciate you. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your experience. Thank you for being with us here today. And hopefully, a few of our viewers will be reaching out to you and take advantage of those opportunities.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I always love to share the information, and it's a great venue you have for investors, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Kelly. Goodbye, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Happy shopping of properties.
Yes. Bye-bye.